I was told to speak about the legacy of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When you hear these words, what are the first thoughts that come to your mind? The legacy of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ever since Mufti Abdul Rahman shared this with me a few days ago, I've been thinking, like, what can I say in a 15-20 minute talk that can summarize what the legacy of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is? Because you can say so many things. It's not a legacy of some athletes. His legacy was his grand slam that he hit in the World Series, or this, Hail Mary that Aaron Rodgers threw in Ford Field. That's their legacy. This is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So then, it made me think, and it brought me back to a few points that I want to show you why. When you lose someone that's very close to you, someone that you love very dearly, the way the Sahaba loved the Prophet ﷺ, and many of us sitting in the room today have lost loved ones, and unfortunately, fortunately, I have been through that experience, and I live it daily with my youngest brother, Rahmatullah alayh. There are three things that happen to you. The first thing that happens is that anything that reminds you of your loved one becomes a painful experience. Anything. If I'm driving down the road and I see a Chevy HHR, it was only made 3 years and it's the worst car ever made. That's the car my brother was driving when he got into the accident. Rahmatullah alayh. I actually just kind of freeze, because I know he was in that car. Think about the Sahaba. Abdullah bin Abbas, almost on every Thursday, he would say, Al-Khamis, Al-Khamis, wa ma adraka mal Khamis. Every Thursday. What do you know about Thursday? One time, Sa'id bin Jubair, rahmatullahi, was with him, and he said to him, why are you saying that about Thursday? He says, don't you know that this is the day where the Prophet became very sick? So every time I am reminded of Thursday, I remember the Prophet ﷺ coming out from the masjid, going back home after Maghrib Salah, and falling unconscious, and not able to go back to Isha. He tried, but he fell at his door again. And that was the last salah he led, was Maghrib Salah. And then 17 salahs later, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those 15 salahs, Isha of Thursday, Fajr of Monday. 17 salahs he never led, Abu Bakr led, and then he passed away on Monday after Fajr Salah. So that Thursday evening would always bring back that painful experience. Al-Fadl, who's the mother of Abdullah bin Abbas, one time her son Abdullah bin Abbas was reciting وَالْمُرْسَلَاتِ عُرْفًا, like this surah. And as he was reciting that, she started crying so much that Abdullah bin Abbas had to stop reading it and said, Mother, what's your issue? Why are you crying so much? And she said, my son, this was the last surah I heard the Prophet reciting in Maghrib. So the surah reminded her of someone she loved so much. This is the last surah I heard the Prophet reciting in Maghrib Salah, and that Maghrib that he led at the end. Abu Bakr and his Khilafah walks into the masjid one day, and he sits on the minbar to start speaking. As he sits down, he realizes what day it was. And I was told I only have 15 minutes. That's why I'm not saying the Arabic. I want to get to my point. He sits down, and he realizes what day it was. And he starts crying so much. And after crying so much, after gathering, like he couldn't hold himself. And then he finally says, on this day last year, the Prophet sat exactly where I was sitting. And he gave his final speech in public. Now that experience becomes a painful experience. My brother passed away October 5th. It's been 4 years. Every Monday around 12:30, you start remembering your mother calling you, asking you, where's your brother? Do you know where he is? Then you start remembering who you call. And you start going through that experience. So that's the first thing that happens when you lose a loved one that the Sahaba lost. You know what the second thing that happens? And I believe this is the legacy of the Prophet. The second thing that happens is your bond begins to strengthen with those whom your beloved loved. Anyone or anything that your beloved loved, somehow the moment he leaves from this world, your bond with them strengthens. And you will start loving them unconditionally. I'll give you this is with the youngsters sitting here, I'll give you a very weird example. It's a very strange example, but I'll tell you. My youngest brother, he used to play and he loved Steph Curry. He used to play like him. Steph Curry is a chef from San Francisco. For those who don't know. Okay. And I didn't like Steph Curry. I'm a huge MJ fan. Mid-range, fadeaway, step back, that's me. My brother, all about threes. Deep threes, catch and shoot threes. The moment my brother passed away, I started loving Steph Curry. Because I knew my brother loved watching him. You know what's weird? I play like Steph Curry now. I'm not showing up. It's just a weird thing. Like I start watching his highlights. I start catching the ball and shooting off the picks. I start doing this. I never had this range before. But just to your all my brother's friends, or anything he loved, your bond with that begins to strengthen. So do you know what the legacy of the Prophet was? His legacy was this. It's summarized in this hadith. One day the Prophet was doing wudu, and he saw someone picking up the water that was trickling off of his legs. And they were picking it up, and they were wiping it over their face, their arms. And the Prophet said to them, why are you doing this for? مَا حَمَلَكُمْ عَلَى هَذَا? Why are you doing this for? And they said, حُبُّ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولُهُ. We're doing this because we love Allah and we love His Prophet. So now the Prophet, at that moment, he turned their attention towards what he loved. So the second thing I said, after your loved one passes away, your bond begins to strengthen with what your beloved and who your beloved loved. The Prophet is now telling them, what do you think the Prophet loved the most? I'm asking you, I'm not going to be able to listen to your answers. Think about that. When we, in the Quran, one of the most powerful and motivating factors of the Quran are those words and verses that come after Inna Allah yuhib. Allah loves, Allah loves, Allah loves. And you want to know what Allah loves because you want to do that. If I ask you today, who and what do you think was the most beloved thing to the Prophet ﷺ? Think about it. What was the most beloved thing to him? Who did love the most? And if you look in the lives of the muhaddithin and mufassirin and you see their conclusion based on a very, very analytical study of the Prophet's life, they pretty much all conclude that the Prophet loved his ummah the most. There was nothing more beloved to the Prophet ﷺ than you. And I'm not trying to be condescending over here. Maybe you don't love your wife, but the Prophet loves her. Maybe you don't love your husband that much, but the Prophet loves him. Everyone in this room right here, the Prophet loves. We're beloved to the Prophet. That's why the Prophet will be thinking of us, about us on the Day of Judgment. I'm from Michigan. Let me keep it real over here. On the Day of Judgment, inshallah, all of us will get a book of deeds in our right hands. Inshallah. Once we get a book of deeds in our right hands, we are right away. The moment you get your book of deeds, or the moment you get your ticket for something, boom, you're bolting, right? So most Muslims are going to bolt to Jannah. Boom, get right there. When we get there in Surah Zumar, based on the reflection of this verse, حَتَّى إِذَا there's وَسِيقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى جَهَنَّمَ زُمُرًا, and the people of Jahannam will be dragged to Jahannam. حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءُوهَا فُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُهَا. When they get there, there's no wow. When they get there, the doors of Jahannam will be open for them. They'll go straight in. There's not going to be a pause. Like, you know how when prisoners get to prison, there's a pause, and then the cell opens up, they're not going to even have that momentary pause. Right into Jahannam. About the people of Jannah, حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءُوهَا وَفُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُهَا. When they get to Jannah, there will be a pause. There's a wow there. You get there, you're going to wait. You know why? Because the doors of Jannah will be closed. Why will the doors of Jannah be closed? Because the Prophet is not there yet. Why is the Prophet not there? Because the Prophet ﷺ will be the last one to get to the doors of Jannah, but the first one in. Because he's not done yet. He's trying to help his ummah. So there's going to be a lounge outside of Jannah. Like, okay, if you fly Spirit, you get there 10 minutes before the flight. Okay? But if you fly Emirates business class, you get there 5 hours before. You want to enjoy the lounge. You want a longer layover in Turkey. Okay? Because of the Turkish business lounge. You want a long layover in Dubai. You fly Spirit, you just get there right on time. You don't let anyone know which terminal. You go to the wrong terminal, then you get the right terminal. Because you just, but here's the Prophet ﷺ, you're going to get to Jannah and there'll be a lounge outside of Jannah. Just to quickly go over that. There'll be there'll be two rivers there. One river that'll be flowing, you'll wash your, it's Qiyamah, Midan al-Mahshar. You'll wash your face, you wash your limbs. That, when you wash yourself, this is when you'll get the beauty of a Jannah. So yeah, maybe your husband don't look that nice right now, but he's gonna look beautiful in Jannah. And it's similar the other way around, right? The moment you don't need to go to Turkey to get your fixture hairline, right? When you put that on, boom, your hair is perfect, right? Then the other way around, there's another river of Jannah. You drink from that. That river of Jannah will remove all the filth inside your body. No more stool, no more urine, and no more, this is a beautiful, Allahumma adhib ghayza qalbi. We are not allowed to hate people. We're not allowed to have any ill feelings for people. But at times, people do such wrong things to us that some reminiscence is left in our hearts. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's just hard to clean the edges of our heart off. Those edges, don't worry, once you drink that water, will be removed. So you're not compelled to be 100% perfect, right? That's not what Allah wants us to do. But when we go there, that river we'll drink from, khalas, it's gone. That's going to be gone right there. Where's the Prophet in this equation? The Prophet told Aisha anha, when she asked him, Ya Rasulullah, where will I meet you on the day of judgment? He said to her, you'll meet me in 3 different places. You know how the chant right now, all over the world, and justifiably is, free, free Palestine? Do you know what the Prophet's chant will be on the day of judgment? The Prophet will also have a distinguished chant, which is in the hadith books. The Prophet told Aisha that you will find me in 3 places. The first place you will find me is when Allah will be giving the book of deeds to his servants. When Allah will be giving the book of deeds, a lot of times an angel will be handing it over and giving it in the left hand of my ummah. And I'll be standing right there and I'll be saying his chant. Ya Rabbi sallim sallim. Ya Rabbi sallim sallim. Oh Allah, please forgive them. Oh Allah, please help them. Oh Allah, they're my ummah. Oh Allah, Ya Rabbi sallim sallim. Wallahi, these are his words. Ya Rabbi sallim. Ya Rabbi sallim. Ya Rabbi sallim. The second place he said will be when the deeds will be weighed. And I'll be standing there, the angel will recognize me. I'll say, Ya Rabbi sallim sallim. Ya Rabbi sallim sallim. Ya Rabbi sallim sallim. Oh Allah, please. Oh Allah, please, I love them. You love me, I love them. And the third place that you will find me will be when the people of Iman, because on that bridge, the kuffar will not go. On that bridge will be only believers and munafiqs. The kuffar will go straight to Jahannam. Of course, they will have urud, but they won't go across it. And so there will be people that will be crossing, and may Allah protect us. The Prophet he said, Oh Aisha, I'll be there, and I'll be saying, Ya Rabbi sallim, oh Allah, please protect my ummah. And people will be slipping off the bridge. I'll be grabbing them by their waist and pulling them up. Why would he do that if he doesn't love us? There's no one he loves more than us. His legacy is the people sitting in the room today. We are his legacy. And the Sahaba understood that. There is nothing, if you open the books of Hadith and you start reading the rewards of protecting the Prophet's legacy, which is you and I. For example, I'll give you an example. We always speak about ikhlas, and ikhlas means do something for the sake of Allah. Is that what it means, right? Let me tell you a hadith that contradicts this, apparently. The Prophet said, "Man qada li ahadin min ummati hajatan liyasurrahu." A person who does something for someone from my ummah, because I love my ummah. Someone who does something for my ummah to make that person happy. So their ikhlas is not right now. Your intention is, I want to make this person happy. I want to make Mahir happy. I want to make Abdul Rahman happy. I'm doing this to make this person happy, to fulfill their need. مَنْ قَضَى لِأَحَدٍ مِّنْ أُمَّتِي حَاجَةً لِيَسُرَّهُ. A person who does something for my ummah to make that person happy. You know what the Prophet said about that person? فَقَدْ سَرَّنِي. He has made me happy. وَمَنْ سَرَّنِي فَقَدْ سَرَّ اللَّهُ. And a person who has made me happy has made Allah happy. وَمَنْ سَرَّ اللَّهُ أَدْخَلَهُ اللَّهُ الْجَنَّةِ. And the one who makes Allah happy, Allah will give him Jannah. That's how much he loves an ummah. A person, he came and he just was gossiping about some fault he saw in another Muslim brother. The Prophet stood up and right away he said, "Man satara musliman faka'annama ahya ma'udatan." He said, a person who hides the fault of my ummah. You've seen someone do something wrong, you hide their fault, you get the reward of that person who saved a girl in the time of Jahiliyyah being buried alive. It's the same reward, as if you saved a daughter who was about to be buried alive. And the muhaddithin, they say, what's the relationship? And they say, like, if you expose someone, sometimes they would rather just die than be exposed. So you're actually giving them life by not exposing them. This is how much you loved us. And that is why the Prophet, now conclude with this hadith, the legacy of this. The Prophet one day was sitting down and he says, on the day of judgment, there will be people sitting on pulpits of nur. لَيْسُوا بِأَنْبِيَاء وَلَيْسُوا بِشُهَدَاء. They're not going to be prophets. They're not going to be people who were martyred in the path of Allah. يَغْبِطُهُمُ الْأَنْبِيَاء وَالشُّهَدَاء. But the prophets and martyrs will envy them. These people will not be worried or concerned about what's happening in Qiyamah. Allah will give them peace, serenity. The Prophet was asked, Ya Rasulullah, tell us who these people are. Tell us who they are. They're not prophets, they're not martyrs. The Prophet said, هُمْ قَوْمٌ يَتَحَابُونَ بِرَوْحِ اللَّهِ. These are people who love each other for the sake of Allah. That's it. They just unconditionally love each other for the sake of Allah, and the reward they're getting because you're loving your beloved's beloved. We are loving those who are beloved loved. Think about that. Just change your perspective. And I conclude with this. Imam Shafi'i was asked, how is it so easy for you to forgive people? And I'm telling you, this is a very effective tool in forgiveness. He said, you know what? There's a long poem of his. At the end of his poem, he says, at the crux of the matter, the reason why it is easy for me to forgive people is two reasons. Number one, أن أعوق محمدا في أن أسوء محمدا في أمته. Number one, should I be the reason why another Muslim brother or sister is delayed into Jannah? You know how unethical it is to skip the line and you make someone wait longer and longer? It's not ethical. He said, you really think my animosity, my hatred, or my heart being broken because of this person is really worth, because of me, this person will be delayed into Jannah? He's going to Jannah for sure. And the second is, okay, now this person will be delayed into Jannah. Who's going to help him? Remember we spoke about it earlier? Who's going to help him get to Jannah? The Prophet ﷺ. Now the Prophet ﷺ, think about how he's thinking. Now the Prophet ﷺ, his entrance into Jannah will be delayed because of me. Because now he has to help someone get to Jannah. I don't want to be the source of the Prophet's delay to be delayed to Jannah. I don't want to be the source of that. I'd rather just forgive him this world. So the Prophet's legacy, my brothers and sisters, is the people sitting in this room. These are the people who the Prophet loved, who he wished to meet. And finally, as I was saying, when someone leaves this world, there are three things. The last thing you always look forward to is meeting them and not disappointing them. You don't want to disappoint them when you meet them. We're going to meet them. The question is whether they will be proud of us or they will be disappointed. That's why Iqbal, rahmatullahi, he says, Mufti, my teacher is here, not going to speak next. I'll conclude with this poem. He says, Tu ghani azhar du'ala man faqir, roz al-mahshad uzr hay man pazir. Gartuni bini isab na guzir, asligani Mustafa bin habakir. He says, Oh Allah, you're ghani, you're independent, and I'm very dependent on you. Oh Allah, on the day of judgment, when my time comes to do my accountability, let me just slide through. For those of us who don't understand this example, it's like someone coming across from Windsor to Detroit. When you come across from Windsor to Detroit, there's someone sitting in the booth who asks you some questions. And they ask, especially someone dressed like me, it's over, right? They ask you, do you have any guns, bombs, grenades, okay? And you're like, nope, I don't have any of that stuff. Do you have more than $10,000? I'm a scholar, I'm broke. No, don't ask me that question. Now they start asking you, do you have any marijuana, drugs? And you're like, listen, be respectful, not me. You can ask someone else that question. If they're satisfied with your answers, they let you go through. But if they're not satisfied, they put an orange sticker on your windshield. Iqbal is saying, oh Allah, don't put an orange sticker on my windshield. Don't send me for secondary clearance. Let me just go through. At the end, he says, but oh Allah, if you decide to do my accountability, my only request is don't do it anywhere near the Prophet ﷺ. Like a child who has bad grades on his report card feels embarrassed that his report card is shown to his parents. Iqbal is saying, I'm embarrassed that I will be given my accountability will be done in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and I'll be a source of disappointing him. So we don't want to be that. We want to be people who make the Prophet ﷺ proud when he finally sees us. May Allah make us like that. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.